Hello, dear students. Today we are going to discuss Bandhu Madhav's The Poisoned Bread. Bandhu Madhav's Poisoned Bread portrays the psychological enslavement of Mahar community of Maharashtra, who were considered inferior, ignorant and untouchable people. Bandhu Madhav was a Dalit short story writer who belonged to the Mahar community. He was also a Buddhist convert who wrote extensively during the 1950s, and he played a seminal role in founding the Little Magazine movement, which later blended with modernism as well as Dalit movement. And this short story is a story of an awakened but suppressed Dalit consciousness, which is revolting as well as struggling to reinvent the society and its consciousness. Now let us have a close look at the prevalent situation that hindered the Dalits from attaining a decent livelihood. Then, we know Indian society is a composition of caste. The ancient Dharma Shastras or the various Hindu religious texts mention the existence of four Varnas composed of Brahmins, who were priests, then the Kshatriyas, who were the warriors, the Vaishyas, the traders, and the Shudras, the lowly job doers. According to these textbooks, class system was God's decree and not man's construct. The Brahmins' propaganda was that they were born from the mouth of Brahma. Similarly, Kshatriyas from his shoulders, Vaishyas from his thighs, and Shudras from his feet. So following this theory, Brahmins held the superiormost position. The Kshatriyas were conferred with various socio-political, economic and religious operations and therefore stayed entwined with religion to oppress the Shudras into social, cultural as well as psychological servitude. And they were even ordained to do menial jobs at the behest of their oppressors, and they had a dehumanized existence which was deemed to pollute the so-called higher caste. They were untouchables, sans clothes, ornaments and footwear. Therefore, the Shudras or the Dalits never gained social acceptance, though some heroes of the upper caste like Agarkar, Gokhale and Ranade and the like showed the audacity to fight for the rights of this downtrodden Dalits. Their efforts were nipped in the bud itself. Ultimately, it was the effort of Dr. Ambedkar to inspire and revitalize the marginalized into a new awakening, which brought in a change. And this story, Poisoned Bread, is a work that gives us a clear picture of the plight of such downtrodden people who got trapped in the ills of hereditary land rights. In Maharashtra, Mahars were considered as untouchable, who were given tags of inferiority, law-born people. And Bandhu Madhav too belongs to this particular community, and it shows how education has empowered a new generation of Dalits to reclaim their legitimate space in a caste-ridden society. The Poisoned Bread. It is a story of Yatalya, Mahadeva's grandfather, who seems to be subservient to the local landlord Bapu Patil, who also belongs to the upper caste. And the thread of the story is that it happened 12 years ago from the time it got written. So it was a busy harvest season when Mahadeva went to meet his grandfather Yatalya at Kupat. So we have two main characters, Mahadeva and grandfather Yatalya. Both belongs to the Mahar community. So as usual, the grandfather took his grandson to their landlord Bapu Patil, looking for a job of winnowing and treading out the corn. By taking his grandson along with him, he hoped to get a larger share of corn or vegetables than the usual ration, which they used to get by begging the same from the upper caste landlord. So when they reached Bapu Patil's house, We can see that Bapu Patil was in a very angry mood, and later we come to know that this anger was triggered by a protest organized by the Mahars and Mangs profaning religion and caste. So Bapu Patil was burning with fury in his eyes to see them at the early hour of the day, as if their sight in the morning can pollute and curse his day. Yetalia couldn't react but remained quiet, for he has accepted the convention of Hindu religion. He continued humiliating him, criticizing the various protests organized by the Harijans all over there. Even when Bapu Patil accused the Mahars and the Mangs for enraging the rain gods by profaning God and religion, thereby causing the Chandrabhaga river to dry up, he could only remain muted with all the emotions of rage buried within himself. But Mahadeva, who belonged to the second generation of enlightened Dalits, who was educated, could not stand this. He retorted by addressing Bapu Patil as Patil. Here Mahadeva, who was influenced by Ambedkarite ideologies, wanted Bapu Patil to realize that Dalits were no more their footlickers. He also wanted Bapu Patil to realize that these suppressed Dalits could understand the pseudo-Brahmanical caste system. Mahadeva strongly retorted, and he said he don't believe in a religion which cannot consider everyone as equal. And if the mere touch of a Dalit pollutes the god, then Dalits have no god. Or can Bapu Patil point at a god whom the Mahars and the other Dalits could claim as their own? We know the biggest problem of the upper caste Hindus is that they always take the lower caste people as law-born, ignorant, evil, lethargic and mean. Same happened here too. Bapu Patil, who was enraged at Mahadeva's voice of protest, screamed in an impulse of anger which sent the poor grandpa into panic. The grandpa, who knew very well the temper of Bapu Patil, which was even capable of committing a severe violence, tried to pacify him by asking for forgiveness. He told Patil that his grandson Mahadeva was her daughter's son from Sangalwadi, who didn't know how to behave with elders owing to his city-bred impudence and enlightenment through education. Bapu Patil continued insulting Mahadeva for his impudent behavior. He tried to belittle him with a rude reminder that after all he is only a Mahar, who even passes LLB and becomes a barrister is only a Mahar. Nobody is going to call him a Brahmin for that. Also he cites the story of Chokkamela, who was a saint and devotee of Vithoba, who moved to Pandharpur but was not allowed to enter into the temple. Instead, he has been kept at the foot of the temple. So these upper caste people considered it a privilege to abuse and accuse the Dalits. They even mocked the idea that how a law-born Dalit can have any sense in aesthetics. That is why Patil said so. When Patil reminded Mahadeva to keep to his position, Mahadeva once more strongly retorted, which Patil gave a punch. A chapel is never worshipped in a place of God. With this remark, Patil was reminding him of his Dalit identity, and simply because he have had a little education doesn't mean that he could teach Patil, which led to another couple of hot exchanges, which was ironed out by Yetalia's diplomatic intervention. So Mahadeva was then reprimanded by his grandfather and was ordered to focus on his work. But Mahadeva couldn't focus on his work, for he felt hurt and humiliated. Patil once again warned them to finish the job before he returned from his breakfast, or else they would be given the day's share of corn. After a while, the grandpa went to Gyanba Patil's threshing floor to fetch a tripod and few measures of corn. Mahadeva was left alone, to the wrath of Bapu Patil, who, accompanied by Tukka Magdoon, arrived to set another impulse of rage. This time, he spoke abusive of Yetalia, that he might have gone to war with Gyanbi Patil's wife instead of fetching a tripod. That may be the reason Yetalia is getting late. And Tukka Magdoon, he proved his loyalty by fanning the flame. He began to speak ill of the Mahars, that they were lousy, good-for-nothing fellows who while away their time. This indeed provoked Mahadeva. Once again he retorted, which left Bapu Patil totally infuriated. By this time, Yetalia arrived running like mad. He was shocked to hear Patil's decision to send them back home unpaid for the day's hard labor. For the corn which he begged and received from his landlord was the only source of food for his poverty-stricken family. Though Grandpa pleaded with tears in his eyes, the stone-hearted Patil was not at all moved. However, Grandpa could not fail to notice the stale, rancid pieces of bread lay scattered in front of the oxen. Grandpa begged Patil for his mouldering crumbs, which had turned green and foul, smeared with dung and urine. Grandpa eagerly collected them, and both Grandpa and Mahadeva went home. On their way back, Mahadeva asked Yetalia to abandon the hereditary land rights which has trapped the Mahars. Also, he asked him to stop begging, thereby emancipating the whole community from the land bondage. Every Mahar should learn to live independently instead of enslaving them to a lifelong labor. And Grandpa was impressed with Mahadeva's speech. That night, the whole family had a heavy meal of stale, rancid bread cooked with dali. The next morning, to everybody's surprise, Grandpa fell ill. He was vomiting like a mad dog. The doctor, who arrived from Sangli, told him it was the rancid crumbs of bread that caused vomiting. The mold in the bread created a toxin which caused the serious dysentery too. With the sad realization, it was the poisoned bread that Grandpa ate has caused all these troubles, Mahadeva sat by his side. Even at his deathbed, Yetalia was not worried about him, and his concerns were about the oppressed caste to which he belonged. He wanted Mahadeva to get as much as education he could, with which he could liberate the whole Mahar community. His advice for his grandson was to become an agent to bring in revolution and to take away the age-old, accursed, poisoned bread from the mouth of the entire Mahar community. The last words of Yetalia to his grandson was a great beacon of hope for many. Those poisonous bread that took away the very humaneness of man was indeed a metaphor for erasure of a community that suffered the pangs of a caste-ridden society.